I'm just messing with y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Lancescurv. We're not really going to have church up in here, but in a way we are. Okay. Why am I hearing myself again? Okay, let's see how that goes. That's really strange. Well, okay, I know why. I know why. Let's get rid of this up here. Spooked myself out for a second. I'm like, wait a second. What am I living in some alternative reality? I had YouTube on this particular show separate from the program. So I'm listening to it and you had to hear it. So I'm like, I had to do a double check. No, I'm not aging myself from loneliness. I have enough companionship and enough connections. Giant Gain, welcome, welcome, welcome. You are the first. Yes, you're always on time. And if in Shaka, yes, we're international already. We're all over. Ghana, Dominican Republic, United States. We already causing it. I'm going to make a run out in a little while, but I said, let me just touch bases with a thought. And I'm going to try to do more content on a regular basis. And I've been very busy trying some other things, and it's all successful. And I'm happy. And I'm glad that I have such a good crew with me. As you say, Giant Gain, the Scurvites. I don't want that to sound so egotistical. When people say, what you mean? You trying to start a cult out here or something? No. Cato Family Farm. Yes. Peace. That's right. Well, everybody's lining up. Wow. I feel like that school kid who's about to get beat up and all the people who support me and love me showed up. It's like, that's not going to happen. Renee Green, welcome. We're all over the place today. I'm glad for that. And that makes me feel good. And that adds on to my life and where it's at. But I want to say one thing. You know, I saw a few videos out here and I kept going with it. And then I Google searched and I did some chat search. And I really found out how much loneliness can affect a person. Real loneliness. And it doesn't mean you have to have lots of people around you, because you can have lots of people around you and still be lonely. It's a disconnect. You can have perfect electricity in your house, but if I unplug the refrigerator from the electricity, your food's going to go rotten. And if you happen to be on a trip somewhere, far away, international, whatever, for 2 weeks, when you come back, you're going to be in for a big surprise. So it's a thing that happens gradually, the effects, but I didn't know and I wasn't realizing the physical effects were this harsh. So I'm going to read off some points to you, but all I say right now, for those who only stay for a little bit of time, if you have a loved one, and lots of times it's the elderly, but do understand that it's not just the elderly. You can have somebody around you or in your circle who everybody's so busy now, they can be 25 years old and start to feel the effects of the disconnect and the physical ailments, which just doesn't mean, you're older or you're elderly. Because as long as you stay connected, and this is why, before I go down my bulleted point list and talk a little bit about each one, this is why when you see, say, a grandmother or a great-grandmother, and she's a great-grandmother because, of course, the children and the grandchildren, and they did what they did to produce these children. And when they come around, not just for the family gatherings, but just on a normal level, bring the babies around so I could see them, my great-grandchildren. Don't you know that keeps them alive? That keeps them alive. Because you, as a child, let's just say, because now we got to talk age range, right? You have children and your mother and father or any combination are still alive, right? Well, you really don't want to hear, not that you don't like your parents or parent, you're not really wanting to hear repetitiously the things that they taught you when you were younger, because now you're up in the world, you're working, you have your children, and those are her grandchildren. But what makes her feel or him feel useful is the fact that the things that they taught you When you were a child, they're teaching your children who are their grandchildren. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be just blood, right? It doesn't have to be just blood relative. Understand that. It could be a next door neighbor. It could be an aunt. It could be a surrogate. It could be somebody who's not even related to you, but they're like a grandparent to them. That keeps them alive because they have something to hope for and they feel valued. They feel valued because what they have to tell their grandchild, whether it's their grandchild or not, is valuable to the grandchild, but it gives that grandparent or surrogate grandparent a sense of purpose. Because now somebody's looking, wow, it really went like that. And let me tell you something about, come here, grandchild, whether it is or not. And now they feel valuable. They don't feel like an old dusty tool that is tossed off in the garage or the basement or back in the yard or detached garage. Now they feel as though they have value. And this is for everybody. Everybody, even a teenager. Look at it this way. You know that experiment where they spoke about the baby who was hugged and the baby who didn't get hugged? Well, that baby who got the hugs thrived better than the one who didn't. This is something that follows you for the rest of your life. So I worded it as loneliness, but it's also detachment. Ultimately, it's not having a purpose. When you feel you don't have a purpose, the world looks different. And many of the grandchildren or the children who are grown now, who have their mother, but that mother is a grandmother, and we're talking about those in traditional ages, not the grandmother who's like, I'm 35 and I'm a grandmother. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking anybody. It happens and it has happened, right? But when you see that you have use, you don't think about your age. But when you're sitting around or your detachment, when you're sitting around doing nothing, not because you're no good for doing nothing, but as we age, right, our social circle starts to get smaller and smaller. What you've got to do as that person who's getting that diminishing social circle, and it doesn't have to mean that you have 1,000 people around you all the time, but as it diminishes, add on to it. There is a responsibility to those who may be getting older to maintain some new blood in their social circles. But I know it's hard because we get set in our ways. And when you get the new blood, it doesn't mean that it has to be somebody of your age. It could be somebody a little younger. But because we're used to speaking and reminiscing about the good old days, that new blood may not have the same proximity and memory of thoughts that you can go back and talk things about. It's just like here. When I'm here, and I'm here, I'm in West Africa, I'm in Ghana, I have a social circle here. It may not be the same social circle that I have in America, because I have people in America that I've known from 6 years old that I still talk to today. We send stuff every day to each other. We hear each other's voice. We'll FaceTime. And then coming up through the 70s, there's about 7 to 8 people that we speak frequently. Some of them every day, some of them twice a week, whatever. But it's just this whole thing. And we can FaceTime. And the beauty for me, what sustains me, because people ask me, well, Lance, how do you do it? You and Mr. Scurv out there, and how do you get along? You need more people than just your wife. I said, of course I do. I don't want to become a pest to her all the time. You know what I mean? We have to have a bigger, and I spoke about this on the show, we have to have a bigger circle of people that we can confide in. But we're in the time of, I ain't going to tell them my business. But before we had social media, which is a false, semi-false way of human contact, and I say it that way because not everybody is real on social media. And I'm going to, I'm on it all the time, but I have to say it. We have people who pretend. We have people who are out here for the romance scams. We have people out here, yeah, they're genuinely lonely, but they connect with people who don't really care. I remember Mike Tyson said something that's slightly off topic, but I think it'll be something to think about. He said when it was back in the 90s, or before he went to prison. So it had to be like 91, 90. And he was pretty much on his high, even though he lost to Buster Douglas. But still, he was still Mike Tyson. Even though that air of invincibility was stripped away from him, he would say that when it came to affairs of the heart, and with all the women he had been through, and he was hurting so bad at certain levels, and he didn't even realize it. He remembers himself saying to one of the women, and there were other women around, and they were in the bedroom getting intimate, and his mind was somewhere else, but it was so profound what he said. I don't know if you ever heard him say this, but he said, "Lie to me," to one of the women now. He had all the sex he wanted, he had all the coke he wanted, he had all the food, he still had millions, and people, oh, Mike Tyson, whatever. But he turned around and told this one woman, and maybe he was on fire in his heart. He said, "Lie to me and tell me that you love me." Ooh. Imagine being that, I don't want to say desperate, but so much in need of human contact that you're going to tell somebody, "Lie to me and tell me that you love me." And she did. And so he carried on with the emotional masturbation, because that's what it was. It wasn't real. It was in his head. You know how low you have to be to tell somebody that? Forget the sexuality. He didn't even want that, really and truly. For him to say that. Now, most guys out here, "Oh, I'd love to be in that situation. I'll tell them to do this and do that. I'll keep this decent." You know how most guys are. But imagine having all of that. Money, fame, all the sex, women coming at you straight up and on the down low. I mean, down low for heteros, right? Because the world changed around R. Kelly's song, right? But imagine being that distant and disconnected, and you're one of the most famous people in the whole planet. And you feel so disconnected that you'll tell somebody, that you're so used to people telling you the fake thing anyway, that you're on the edge, and you say, and I didn't want this show to just be about this, but I want to show you that it doesn't have to be some old lady sitting up with not much to live on a Social Security because inflation took over and she's eating dog food and nobody calls, nobody looks for her, and she just has old TV and memories on the mantelpiece, and every other time she gets a call, one of her people that she knows is dying. In contrast to Mike Tyson, one of the most famous people in the whole planet. Money, cars, homes in different states and different parts of the world. Imagine that. Imagine you to say, "I'm going home." And somebody says, "Well, which home you going to? The one in Las Vegas, the one in Miami, the one in New York, the one in Texas, the one in Italy, the one in South Africa? Which home you going to?" I don't think he had residences like that. He could have, but imagine that. So when we see people, we don't really know what they're going through. Even they don't know how far off they are. Imagine that. In a time when we have more ways of communicating, in a time that everything is moving so fast. I'm not saying go slow, but we got to slow down certain parts of our existence. That's why we're going to take this walk in a little while after this is over, because time is flying. And by the time I get back, it's dark, so I can do another one when I get dark instead of saying, "Well, I'm going to go out there and come back and catch it in time." I might get back late. I'll still do it, but the pressure won't be on me because at least I got a communication and a topic out earlier on. And still, it's not early. It's what, 1:45. Really and truly, I should have been out of here from 7 a.m. in the morning, 8. But I had some things here to do. And it's crazy out there because for me, my disconnect as far as the calendar is concerned. I'm out here, I'm retired. I don't have a job per se. So Sunday is the same as Monday morning. Tuesday is the same thing as Saturday. So I had to hit myself again. I said, wait a second, what's today's date? Oh, this is Friday. Oh, this is Saturday. I thought it was Friday. And yesterday, I thought it was Wednesday. So I'm becoming detached from certain aspects, but the same would happen in America, but not really. It's worse here because I'm disconnected from that work mentality. And there's people work here sometimes 6 days, 7 days a week, most of the time 6 days. So they don't have time to deal with anybody except their own little clan. And that's spelled with a C and not a K. But let me adjust the screen. I'm going to give you a few bulleted points and we're going to speak about it. And I think it's important that we really focus on this aspect of our life, right? So here we go. Loneliness does not shout. It creeps in when the phone stays silent, when a chair stays empty, when we fall unseen. Science now tells us it can't shorten life like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. A study from the Brigham Young University found that loneliness raises the risk of early death by 26%. 26%. Why is that? Well, the bottom line is that we need each other. We need each other. It's the way we're made and the way we're wired. Even if you have downtime with the people that love you and care for you, and even if it's not, we're talking about romantic love is one thing. We're talking about love from a family in different ways, different proximities. We talk about a general love for our friends that we have. So this is sometimes we mix up love. And we're so afraid of loneliness when we're younger and we're in these relationships. Oh, don't leave me. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Wait a second. You're 25 years old. You got your life ahead of you. What do you mean? What are you going to do? But it's perception. So this is why we have to take it serious when we have somebody younger in our inner circle who goes through a breakup. They go through a job loss. They move somewhere new because they want to, and they love it there, but still there's a loneliness now because they didn't connect with new people. That 26% of having it more where they're going to lose their life earlier is still there. You don't have to be older for that statistic to work. So just think about the times in your life. Now, lots of times you want to be alone. Now, you don't want to, I want to say it again. You don't want to join on to people who hate you, who dislike you, who are living wrong according to your standards. You don't join on with those people. They'll increase the risk of death even more. They will. Just by the energy alone. Like you can go somewhere, whether you know the people or they invite you somewhere. It might be a nice person that you know. Say, okay, they invited me somewhere. I'm going to go. You put your little clothes on and get yourself done up. That's part of it too. You want to feel attractive. You want to feel engaged with good humans. So you go there and it's like, wait a second. These people looking at me all weird. You know, you see them looking at you and you say, you know, good evening. And they just look at you. Just look at you like, what's this fool speaking to me for? And you get a couple of those and you see the overall spirit of what is there. And you're like, listen, you tell your buddy, like, listen, it's not against you, but I don't feel comfortable here. See, you don't want to be around them type of people, right? So you pick and choose as you go through life. You know, it may not be something formal, some kind of networking event or something formal, because you know what? All you do in those situations for the most part, and most of you know it who do this, is all you're doing is collecting cards. And you got the Colgates. I'm not saying you're fake, but you don't know these people. And they're trying to network to get something out of you, which is righteous, business-wise, if you can co-promote or help each other. But for the most part, oh yes, how are you doing? My name is so-and-so and so. I don't want to get around people like that. That'll kill me faster. That'll make me feel more alone faster. Or you know this person has resentment for you and they've been running their mouth bad about you all up and down town. I'm supposed to join on to that? No, I'm in the old man phase right now. I'm not an old man. I'm not old in my mind. I got a lot of juice in my fruit. I can still throw combinations. I can still last a few rounds. But I'm not going to invest my precious time grinning and bearing it around people who are going to increase my chance of death. Because I got to struggle with these energies while smiling. Good evening, how are you? And you're struggling. No, I want to be free. Let me wander off out in the woods somewhere. I'm better off. That's the way I feel about it. And I can't feel any way different about it. That's just how it is, right? What's the next point here I want to say? What happens inside the body? Heart and blood. Constant stress from feeling alone keeps cortisol high. Blood vessels stay tight. Blood pressure climbs. And heart attack risk rises. In the brain, MRI scans show that lonely people lose gray matter in areas used for memory and decision making. The risk of dementia goes up 40%. Immune system, I'm going to come back to that. Loneliness weakens the genes that fight illness. Inflammation spreads, opening the door to colds, stroke, and even some cancers. So check that out. Just loneliness will help bring that in, especially the dementia, because you're not using it. You're not using it. I'm not saying you have to push yourself. And these are one of the things that I think we're responsible for on our own. We need the human contact. We need the human touch. We're not talking about just sex, y'all. We're talking about the human touch. This is why sometimes you feel like, man, I wish I could just hug. There have been times, even in certain periods in New York City, when I was living fast meaning not drugs, not crime, just female company, put it that way. That even that alone didn't satisfy me. And I wasn't a lonely person. I knew everybody. I was always the life of the party. But I found out recently from my dear life coach, Customato, that your performance can usually be something that is not going to satisfy you. Performing, no matter what it may be, right? It could be on an intimate level. It could be on a public level. But you performing and doing the dance to keep people around you, because deep down, although you know so many people, I don't know as many people as Mike Tyson does, but I give him a run for his money as a guy who's not famous. I can identify with that because people expect you to be this thing for them. Oh yeah, this is the guy that tells a joke. This guy's funny. Oh, this guy, I used to hate it when I did bodybuilding. And there were people that I half knew, because I wasn't a guy who was like, yeah, look at me, I got muscles. But the first thing out their mouth when they would introduce me to somebody, yeah, this the guy was telling you he does the bodybuilding. Take your shirt off, man, and show me. I'm like, I don't always do that. I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm not here to perform. Certain girls that had loose lips would tell them other women things. I want to get to know you. I heard about you. So men can go through that too. Is that all you want from me? What about a real hug? And that being said also, why don't we give this some time? Sometimes we're so busy in our pursuit of amplifying our status or making more money, or we want to get that new car. And as a living, breathing human being in your midst, whether they live cross town, another country, another state, that love to receive a phone call from you if they're not near you, or even better, some type of FaceTime, some type of video call, a familiar face that they can look in the eyes of. See? That does so much. Why don't we give that? Because like a teacher that teaches, the teacher learns something that they already knew when they teach somebody, but they might learn a little more than what they knew before because they researched to teach this lesson on something they knew already for 20 years and they found out something new. So that made them better. But if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And that gray matter, like my research said, you're going to start forgetting things. You're going to start forgetting what you want to do. You're going to start losing yourself. But imagine, and I know many of us can identify with that, but imagine walking into the room of a loved one and they don't even recognize you. Imagine that. I'm not saying it's your fault because you're busy and you have to work and do certain things. These things happen chemically but there's things that we can do on our own, under our own power that can slow this stuff down, right? You hear the brakes squeaking. Now you know it's cutting down to the pads and down to the rotors. So you drive around in your car like that for so long, and the time you really need the brakes and you slam it, even it won't work after a while. We got to maintain. Of course, we know there's certain nutrients and minerals and drinking water. We know all of that stuff, but there's an element that we don't face, and we're doing it to ourselves. I'm not throwing off if anybody has a person in their family that was isolated or whatever have you. You got to do what you got to do, but let's just try to do better. That's all I'm saying. Let's just try to do better because there's a lot at stake here. And we don't want to look back and say, you know what? We could have done something better. We don't want to have that regret on us. And there are people that I know that there's one particular person who has a mother alive, and she does so much for her mother, even when her mother may be a little difficult sometimes. You got to endure that because love should be unconditional. And whoever it was that raised you, whether it's your mother, your father, your grandparents, aunt, whoever, I do feel you have to take care of them. I don't care what they say in this modern day. Oh no, or what they say. Because, they got pride. They don't want to feel that, they may feel like, oh, you just trying to make me feel old. No. You washed my stinky butt. You changed my diapers. You fed me. I was born. All I could do was crawl. What do you mean? You're older now. You have needs. Who better to take care of you than me? Right? Many Black families live far apart. Elders sit alone while children chase busy lives. Neighbors who once talked on porches now scroll on phones. The result is shorter, harder years for parents and grandparents, and for anyone in their 20s, 30s, or 40s who slips into isolation. So again, it's not just elderly people that are in the home and looking out the window and nobody comes around and they look forward to going to church, but that's not enough because that's just one day. Now you see why older folks sometimes who are retired and have lots of time go and play bingo. I'm like, why do these people always want to play bingo? It wasn't about bingo. They needed the human touch. They needed the fellowship, and you need something to look forward to. Early signs most folks miss. Meals eaten alone day after day. Meals eaten alone. Imagine. Look, we all love to go to the restaurant, but we love to go to the restaurant with people that we love. We can laugh, we can talk. It's not just about the food. You can scramble 3 eggs and eat at home. You know what I mean? Look, think back. I'm not saying any one culture, any one civilization, but before we had microwaves and condos and nice homes, whatever, yeah, we had nice structures back in the day, right? But it wasn't about just eating, because eating was a collective thing. Somebody had, if you eat meat, whatever, somebody had to go get the meat. Somebody had to go hunt the meat. Somebody had to go get the vegetables. Somebody had to prepare it, get the seasonings for it. Do you know what that's like? Let's just say way back in the day. I'm not saying in any one particular time period, but way back. before we had refrigerators and they had to put salt into certain things to preserve it. It wasn't like you just roll up to a drive-through fast food joint, which is no good for you anyway. I've eaten my share of fast food in this life, but I'm just saying. And why is it that we like to eat together? Because after getting all the parts together, that was a daily thing. That was a daily thing. And we had roles. So this is why the breakdown of the family is bad. Because we got to do everything by ourselves when we're by ourselves. And that's not good. And so after we got all these parts and components of the meal together, oh man, we finally get to sit down and eat. But to get the meal together, it took time. Hours to prepare those meals. And it brought us together because it was a collective effort. Well, what is it that we're doing now in this society that's a collective effort? We're separated from that. They talk about dementia. They talk about these things that cause us to slip because we've slipped away and become detached from each other. We need each other collectively for life. And this is why the enemy that sees us doesn't like to see us living in peace and harmony. Let me finish this part of the list. We're going to get back on that. A calendar with few names on it or in it. No, nothing to look forward to. No, well, I'm going to go with Susie Friday to go shopping. And I know we have a birthday party for my nephew coming up next weekend. It used to be where, and we're especially seeing older folks, they were always busy. They never had to worry about a ride. They might have been too old to drive or didn't want to drive. There was always somebody that, we were fighting over the chance to go. And I'm saying theoretically because I didn't know my grandparents. They died early, right? But I've seen this. No, I'm gonna go pick her up. No, man, I'm picking her up. I live closer to her. Nah, but you drive crazy. I'm picking her up. It was a joy. And they felt cherished. They never had to ask for anything. All they had to do, if they did live alone, is make a phone call to somebody. Baby, I'm trying to make me a cheese omelet, and I'm out of cheese. Don't worry, Grandma, I got you. And she's trying to give you money to pay you back, and you ain't going to take it. That keeps you alive because you feel as though you're loved. But we got folks who are half the age of Grandma and don't have that. And that's why we have to be that for each other. But in this society where it's a dog-eat-dog world, every man for himself, even within families, we have families who operate this way. We have families who don't talk to each other. You are killing each other off. The other one is moving less, sleeping more, or both. Forgetting simple things, keys, dates, and faces. Keys are right there in front of you, but you can't find them. Now that happens to all of us sometime. I remember one time I was so focused on doing this piece of artwork and I was drawing. This day I had off and I was drawing. And I said, man, I got to find my glasses. Don't you know, I tore the house up looking for those glasses. And they were on my forehead. I looked in the mirror. I said, God, dog, I ain't going to tell this to nobody. But the meals eaten together, everything collective. And there are times that you're going to have to spend to yourself. There are times that you're going to want to be by yourself. You need that too. Even the grandma, like, baby, I've been around with y'all young folks so much. I don't need to be running up and down now too much. I need to rest. So it's a balance. But this society doesn't promote that balance. No, it doesn't. It strips away anything that's healing for you. And you have to look at it this way. And I always say it this way, this man-made engineered system is going to kill you. It doesn't want to give you life. Even if it gives you something that tells you, well, we're going to make this easier. Chrissy, welcome on in. I've been a regular with the shows, but it's good to see you. We put your beautiful avatar across. She says, Grand Rising, Brother Lance, everyone in the chat and those that are listening, peace and blessings. You see how wonderful that is? You see the vibration that you've given me from that and everybody else who comes through? You know, whether a person's new or a familiar face, and sometimes a show you might miss, that's okay. We're busy sometimes. But just to know that we can be recognized and we're connected on whatever level doesn't mean I have to know everybody's business and call me, let's talk for hours, whatever. But just to see a familiar face or avatar, whatever, to know that that energy is behind it. That's all it takes. And we're losing so much, but that's all it takes. You know, I mean, we have the physical, we have the spiritual, we have the mental, we have the emotional. But again, when you're gutted and you feel as though you have no purpose, you feel as though you're not needed. It happens for children. We have to make our children feel as though they're needed so they can know that feeling, but we have to continue that for the rest of our lives. Those that are older that don't feel needed. How many grandmothers, and I say grandmother, it could be great grandmother, it could be aunt, it could be a brother or sister who is so much older than you, right? And again, this is not just an age thing, because you can be lonely and feel the effects of it negatively when you're young. You can be 20 years old and lonely. Who around you is lonely and hiding it? I'm not a teacher, but I'll say it this way. That's our homework for today. Who is it that we have tended to forget about, right? That we feel, wow, you know, I haven't thought about them for a long time, to the point where you do talk to them, you feel guilty. Because you know what? Best to reach out to them now, because if you don't, and we see that they have transitioned, this is why there's so much crying at funerals. And I hate funerals. I hate funerals, y'all. There's something about funerals, and, you know, it's a business. We understand that. But it's okay. Next. Who's next? Who's dying next? You know what I mean? Funerals don't want to hear people love each other, not shooting each other, killing each other, crime. And to me, funeral owners, I don't know, man. It's like a death hustle. Even though we need this to a point, because when you're grieving, you know, sometimes you can't get it together. Insurance papers and who's going to do what, and all old feelings come out. Well, they died now, so yeah, I bet you they think they're going to get all that money, but I'm going to get some too. And then they're more worried about that. Not to go off topic, but I'm going to just tell it this way. Look, you got somebody who dies at 85, right? Sonia Cotton, welcome on in. Welcome on in. You have somebody who dies at 85, and here you are, let's just say you're 45 years old, and you got along with this particular grandmother, grandfather. And now people start jockeying. Well, you think because you was closer that you're going to get, I bet you shoot. And now we forget the whole celebration of life. We're fighting for what this person who transitioned has. And it may not be when they're older. It could be somebody younger than you that was doing really good. And now you start to line yourself up. That's not right. That's not right. And on a cosmic level, I'll say it this way. You ever go to the supermarket, or really like the mall, right? And you're on there and you got to go soon, but everybody says, well, listen, I'm going to go over here by this store or this shop. Oh, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to be in the food court. So when you finish, you know, come on out, whatever. And the person takes long for shopping, and you sitting there, you finish your meal, and you say, listen, you know where we parked? I'll be out there by the car. Now, you may wait 20 minutes. You're like, man, you're making me late, but you know, did you get your stuff? Yeah, but I want to go check. Go ahead. It might be 30 minutes, 40 minutes you waited, and you pissed, and you think that you being greedy for what the next person has that passed away is going to fulfill you? Is that what they meant? I mean, they're all going to divvy their things out. I understand that. And some people may say, well, I did a lot for them and she ain't give me nothing. I understand that to a point. But from the other side, you coming right behind them. See, you think, well, I'm going to live all this long life. You may live shorter than them, but if it's 20 years or 30 years behind the time that they transition from the other side, It's just like when you were in the mall and had to wait 40 minutes for the person to come out. It's like this when you compare it to eternity. So why are you getting so bent and out of shape over what somebody has? And this is why funerals, there's a funeral director's daughter that I know, and that daughter grew up in the business, right? And I'll say this much. Her mother was the first Black funeral director, whatever, in New York State, right? That's a minor note maybe to some people, but that's a big thing too. And she ran her business tight. And the daughter, who's maybe like about less than 10 years younger than me, she told me some things with a loved one that passed away. I forgot who the person was or what their position was. But within the family, there was a knife fight in front of the coffin. A knife fight. Sorry to go off so much, but we got to check ourselves because this life is not long. This is, how did I say it before? This is a entrance exam or aptitude exam for eternity. A placement exam for eternity. So we need to do each other right. I don't get in a state of mind where I'm worried about what you have. Wipe that off of me. Let me be a joy. If you can't accept me for who I am and you don't like me, well, we're not going to like everybody. If you don't like me, I'm okay with that. Because there's so many people who do. And that's not my main goal, but to do good and to fulfill my mission. And one of the things on our mission, we need to reach out to those who feel disconnected and those who feel they don't have a purpose. Even if you make up something for them to do. You ever see that little kid by the warehouse, always looking, like getting in trouble, and the person who owns the warehouse say, "Hey kid, I need you to come over here 8 o'clock every morning and sweep the front for me." Now he has a job. Now he feels he has purpose and he's not going to get caught up in anything criminal or mischievous because now he has a goal. He has a purpose. He's appreciated. "Thank you. You did a good job this week. I need you to do a little more for me. I'm going to increase your pay." Well, sometimes we have, and I'm just using the elderly grandmother, right? Because usually the men pass on before the women. We understand that. It's not always. But listen, ma, grandma, granny, whatever you call her, you may have a friend that's having a party that she doesn't even know who the friend is. It's somebody you met within the last 5 years. I'm not saying to lie, but gas it up, right? I told them all about your banana pudding, and they really, really want to taste it. Could you make some? They love banana pudding, and they might. Really? You think so? Okay, well, I'm on a limited income, so maybe you can, the ingredients, don't worry about it. Make a long list of what you need and make four big banana puddings so they can take it home. Okay. So now she playing old church music, some old music from back in the day, and she's just happy, just being appreciated. You might even bring her to your little function, which it may not be for, maybe a little raunchy or whatever, but just bring her on through and just listen, tell your friends, tell her how good it is and watch her light up. She'll be on the phone the next day with one of her church sisters, if she goes to church, right? I'm just making this up. We all can identify with this. And girl, they love my banana pudding and they said they want more. And I'm going to make some. So she might want to make it every week and they may not want it every week. But the bottom line is that you made her feel as though she had a purpose and connected and not divided, alive, right? Part of something. This is why we have bingo. This is why they have church on not just Sundays. I know Seventh-day Adventists have it on Saturdays, but Wednesday night church service, Friday night church service. This is why you see some of these women, they're ushers there. They're ushers. They love the Lord. We'll speak in a Christian way. We understand what that's all about. We understand. But let's just talk that way. But they lonely. And the ritual of getting their hair done and this is my outfit for the night. I'm going to wear my little usher outfit. But on Sunday, I'm going to wear this and I'm going to wear this. This whole thing is made up. But it's necessary. Join in with it, even if you don't believe in it. I'm not saying to change your ideology. but compliment her. She might leave this earth and not know anything beyond Christianity, right? Or she may be in Islam or what. Just compliment her. Oh, you look, you breaking hearts today. And remember things about her. That little orange hat you wore last week, that was a banger. Next time you wear it, I'm gonna take some. Really? I know people like that. There was a lady across the street from me, and we spoke about her, Emma Bell. Now, Emma Bell was everybody's grandmama. She looked the part. And Emma Bell, she reminded us of Mama May, that comedian who was very risque back in the day. And she looked like somebody's grandmother, Moms Mabley. And she would say things like, I may be old and up in my years, but I ain't too old to shift my gears, looking at a young guy. Now, back then, comedy, unless you got one of the albums or something where they would curse on it, you couldn't say that on mainstream television. But she would say it and insinuate, you're a young boy, I might be old, but I'm going to jump your bones because you're looking good. The adults knew what that was. That's the way Emma Bell was. And one thing I realized about her was that, and I have a recorded story I know you'd love to hear if you haven't heard the story about Emma Bell, because when she was younger, she was out there. She was wild. So she's older now, and she's not playing a role, but you take her on face value like this old granny, let me be delicate. There was a guy who almost cut me off in traffic when I was taking her to the Pathmark supermarket. They don't have Pathmark in New York anymore. She cussed the guy out more than I could. I wasn't going to cuss the guy out, but she revealed the other side to her. I was like, whoa. She conjugated curses in a way that I never heard before, Emma Bell. And not to get off the subject, but she always kept herself busy. She had certain nights that she'd go with friends and play cards all night in their apartment. I dropped her off a lot, and I made sure. I said, listen, I'm right across the street. I live there. Anytime you need to go anywhere. And I ain't going to lie. Sometimes I'm like, oh, man, I promise I don't feel like doing it right now. Or I might have been into something and like, I'm going out to Brooklyn all night. Could you I see your car out there. Because I used to park my car in her garage because originally my house in New York didn't have a garage, right? I eventually dug one out in the front and parked it sideways. But connecting the connection with her. And unfortunately, she had took a walk up the avenue by herself, tripped and fell. She hit her head and she passed away. But she taught me a whole lot because she was one lively woman. And on that note, I want to say one more thing. I have to find the story. I think I still have it on SoundCloud. It was on the old channel that was taken down. But Emma Bell, you need to hear the story about her, right? She was a wild something when she was young, and she was still wild. She was 77 years old when she passed away. And back in those days, I was, let's say, 20-something. I was 20-something when I was taking her around for a little bit of time, but I learned a lot from her. That was a wild lady. But yeah, let me move on to the next point and see what else here. I jotted down. I'm not going to run through all of them. I got to get out of here soon, but we're going to talk on this more. Simple steps that rewire the brain and body. One real talk a day. Just one. 10 minutes of honest conversation can cut lonely feelings by almost half. Even if you reminisce. I'm not saying to live in the past, but even if you reminisce a little bit, that commonality of being able to laugh. Look, I have a friend of mine. We talk every day, and probably on my way down into town, I'm going to give him a call or we'll voicemail each other. We're going to bring up some funny jokes, whatever. It keeps us alive. We recycle old things that have happened and crack up like it just happened. I ain't going to tell the whole part of this story, but there was this situation, right? I didn't want to be bothered with. It wasn't a hit and run, but it was kind of like I broke down that night and something happened. And it really shouldn't have happened. That's, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things, and the young lady was very aggressive on me. And in those days of bodybuilding, it wasn't really as popular as it is now. So that had a lot to do with it. And I was trying to hide. I ain't gonna lie. I was trying to hide. So My friend, and it's a long story, I'm going to keep it short, knew the number, right, to her aunt, who she lived with. And the aunt was with it, like, yeah, we got to get Lance together with her. Yeah, I heard they got together. Everything was tight. It wasn't tight for me. Anyway, my friend dialed their number, and the aunt picked up, right? And so my friend handed me the phone. I'm like, hello? And I heard her voice. It's like, man, he said, the look on my face. He cracks up at this thing every day. He said that was the most priceless moment, that you didn't want to be bothered because the whole family was whack. I didn't know that. And he called the phone. I heard, he said, your blood drained out of your face. And I handed him back the phone. I'm like, how could you do this to me? You know what I mean? But we laugh at that every day. And the different jokes that we have that, and there's thousands of them, countless thousands of them, because we've known each other from the mid-70s. This is 2025 right now. And it's something that keeps me alive. I know it keeps him alive. And I have other friends like that we go back and we talk, we laugh, and we talk about the current things also. It's not just stuff from the past. Another one is walking with others. Weekly group walks lower blood pressure, lifts your mood, and sharpen your memory. Just a walk. And I remember just young, naturally going on walks. My friend Angelo, I'll call out his name. If he hears this, he'll know. We had a thing called the Thursday night walk. And this was in, I'd say, the early 80s, 70s, of course, right? But we didn't call it Thursday night walk. But in the 80s, when we had work schedules and stuff, his schedule permitted him, because he didn't have to get up early Friday. Same thing with me, whatever the work days were. And in the evening, we wake up late, and he lived across the street from me, right? And we would take these walks locally. Now, this was the time I know that I was doing bodybuilding. So he had the mentality, well, if the girls come looking at you for the way you look, let's go through all these, let's zigzag these neighborhoods, he'll catch the crumbs. That's what he said. He said, I don't mind. But we were just walking and talking, and the camaraderie, and it was always a lot of young ladies, right? But we talk. It wasn't like we're just hunting to take advantage of anybody, but it was a conversational piece. And for me, it wasn't a big thing because I always kept myself covered. But he was one telling me, well, why don't you wear that tank top? Why you want me to wear a tank top? That's when it came out. The more attention you get, and so we had things called adventures. We'd go out. What's the adventure going to be there? We don't know. Let's go down by Stutford Boulevard. Let's go down by Guy Brewer. Let's go down Merrick Boulevard, Springfield Boulevard. Let's go to Laurelton. Let's walk down there. It was always something fun. But that's the world we lived in at the time. And it wasn't like we're just trying to catch women. We met. Some things happened over time, but it was just the adventure, being a part of a community that wasn't yet destroyed as it is now. Because again, it's not about just, how can I say it? And there's one more thing I have to do here that I didn't do as we talk. Let me do this. My brain works in so many different levels, and I catch myself. There's certain things I got to do for this, certain things I got to do for that. Okay, that's set. Okay, that's good. Let's go back to the points. But yeah, overall, it's like there's a force world. We pull back a little bit and look at it, that does not like loving human contact. They don't like it. We have to destroy humanity that way. John Kane says, I know you have to go, so answer when you can, please. How closely related, if at all, do you think being homesick is to this loneliness? Okay. I had to deal with that. Yeah, I'm not going to rush. I can still, the things I have to do, I can do in an hour, but I'm going to stretch it up to 3 or 4. Because when you travel all the way down to Accra, it's like, okay, let's make this count. So no, we're good. We're good. And any other questions and stuff, not that I'm some guru, but I'll do shows on it. I'll talk about it because this is rooted in that. But I'm going to answer you straight up, and I already know the answer for me. When I left New York City and moved to Orlando, Florida, before I left New York City, and this is for me now, it's not like I left when I was 10 or 12 or 14 and had to leave all these friends. I was mature at that time, not as much as I am now. But New York City for me was changing, where I began to feel lonely there because so many people were moving away. So many people were still there, but the mentality shifted. They were so busy, we didn't have a chance to spend some time. We took each other for granted. I'm not going to say I took them for granted, because I always was aware of the beauty of the moment, and I absorbed as much as I can as I'm in the moment. So I had a doggy bag of memories and good feelings everywhere I go. I have good memories in Orlando, Florida, where I lived, even though it was drier there. You see? So being homesick has a lot to do with it, but you have to come to grips with the place that you're homesick for. And again, this all depends on your situation, because you could have moved from somewhere 2 years ago and you're homesick. You can go to a summer camp. I remember when I went to Camp Treetops up in up in New York near Canada. I have stories from that too. 7 weeks we were there. Man, I was homesick after like 3 days. But relatively, we grow and we mature, we understand. But if it's something like are you homesick for the actual place as it is now? Or are you homesick for the memory of what it was, that it may not be that way now? Right? That's another question you have to ask yourself. Are you homesick for the people that are still there? Or are you homesick for the memories that you had with the people in the warm times? Because if I go back to 134th Street in Richmond Hill, Queens, which is next to Jamaica, Queens, right? Nothing's there. The same houses are there. Different people are living there. And in that whole area, very few people that I knew from growing up in the late 60s and 70s and coming into the 80s, they're gone or they're dead. So for me to combat that, I celebrate what it was, and to know that there's still people that I'm in contact with. Because if you heard our conversations, you would swear up and down that we lived there and we were in that time. I'm gonna give you an example. When I speak to he doesn't mind I put his name out. I speak to my friend Kevin. He just finished texting me. I'm gonna talk with him too after the show is over. When we speak, I'm not gonna tell you where he lives. He still lives in New York, but way in a different part. But when we go back and we talk about our old neighborhood, and I'll call it a community because I was blessed to grow up in a community in New York City, in Queens. So there's no little hick town somewhere in the South or out in the country that can give me a better feeling than that time that I grew up in, right? When we speak about the old, I'll say it this way. He doesn't live on that street, which we'll call blocks. Yeah, I have to explain it because folks don't understand. Or my block. My block was 134th Street. His street was 131st Street. We were both off of 107th Avenue, between Liberty and Liberty Avenue. So I'll talk to him and say, man, around the corner from you, remember that girl that we used to see all the time, but she always stayed inside? Around the corner, we don't live there anymore. And all of my friends and all my acquaintances from that era, man, remember that time we were over by your house? Now, people would think that you're talking about Ghana, where I am now, or Orlando, where I moved to. But in our mind, that is still our emotional, mental GPS system. When we speak about the past, we come alive. We come alive. Thank you so much, Natasha. Natasha Dallas. He said, this is very deep, Lance. I love hearing these conversations and these insights. I'm so hooked on this. I'm going to do one later on when I come in. And later on, when I come in, will still be earlier for you. Even if it's a little bit, even if I do one over the phone, I'm in the bed and I'm falling half asleep. Because, I got the setup here and everything. And sometimes the wires and connecting and making sure things right. I might do something on the phone or just like this. But that's what it is. So when I went back to New York City, okay, let me get everything right now. I left in February of 2001 to move to Orlando, Florida, right? Okay, Alex Bryan White live TV show, Woyoy, Wicked. That Woyoy, that's a Caribbean thing, I think, right? But when I went back, and was it 2004, 2003? It was 2004, and it was a drive-through. Not a drive-through driving through, but I went there for a couple of days. And I touched on certain areas. Even, was it 2004? I think, yeah. 3 years, because I left in February for good in 2001, but I had to come back to sell my house on April 5th was the closing. So I had to come back. And that one didn't count, but it was when I came back 2004, everything changed. The feel changed. Everything accelerated. It changed. The same houses and I didn't go through the old neighborhood. I didn't have to do that. I already knew it was different. I spoke to a few people. Hey, when you gonna come around, man? Some people who were stagnant. Because you can have people that are, I'll make up a term. They're co-lonely. They're all sitting around with each other and they're lonely. That's why you're gonna keep on moving. And we know the familiar is warmer to us than the unknown. But look at your reality today. Your reality today was once the unknown. Even if you live in the same house you grew up in, so much has changed around you. And less of us fear the unknown. I dare the unknown. I welcome the unknown. There's no fear of the unknown for me. It's like a boxing match. I'm not fearing you because I don't know what you can do, but you don't know what I can do either anyway. So let's put our cards on the table and let's see what happens. But all along the way, I'm going to create memories and gain acquaintances and some friends. You can't say everybody's going to be your friend, because when I moved to Orlando, people were saying, well, you don't know nobody down there. I knew 1 or 2 people down there. Right? But they weren't super close. And I told them, I said, listen, I got friends down there that I haven't even met yet. I don't know them now, but I got friends of mine down there that I haven't even met yet. And that's the attitude that I moved down to Orlando with. And that's the same attitude within myself that I moved to Ghana, West Africa here. Right? The stuff that's inside me is inside me. Right? Change. So I bring my own set of memories also. It's just like, and I always like to share it and show it, that back in the day, from 2012 to 2019 or 2010 when I started doing the YouTube thing, whatever, the same thing. In that little room, you'll see, I had the yellow stripes, yellow stripes behind me. And I said, you know what? When we leave and build our new place, and that's Dr. Vibrant Issa White Muhammad right there, we go back too. We were doing shows in that little room. That was a big YouTube logo on the side. So although we don't know the future, we know who we are, and we bring who we are into the present. And so here I am behind me. Not a fake. Look, see, I can move the pot and the vase, and all of this is real because of this. So a lot of times we cut ourselves off from future memories because we fear the future. We're homesick. Yeah, we're always gonna be homesick. Tears well up in my eyes every day. They do. I think about good times. I think about good people, some who are still here, some who are not here, some who have lost contact with, because I do know a lot of people in so many different worlds. That doesn't mean I can't get lonely. Sometimes I want to connect with a person from that particular place in my life that knew that time. And we can reminisce on that. That's what gets me along the way. I have been into so many different worlds. I'm always a people person, always getting around. I grew up in New York City, man. The most boring Monday is more exciting than the most exciting Saturday in most other places in the States, especially back then. So I'm high powered that way. So when I get homesick, it's a massive dose. It's like the joke I said the other day. I said, yeah, I know I got a big head. My head is so big when I get a headache, everybody within a 5-mile radius get a headache too. The signal goes out. Boom, boom, boom. But that's what it is. And what is reality? I mean, what is reality? I mean, we're going to experience this. It's real. Just because it passed, it doesn't mean it didn't exist. The biggest thing you can do is share what you've experienced with other people that keeps it alive. I mean, one of the biggest things for me, and I'm going to get back on point. You know me, I go over the double yellow line. I cross over to the next highway and go drive across the traffic, and I find a way of coming back, right? But let me just see what the Drum Speaks has to say. Peace, Brother Lance. I was born in Harlem, lived in Texas, Indiana, Massachusetts, and Ghana for about 4 or 5 years each. Came back to Harlem last year. It's changed a lot, and so have I. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. It's a journey. It's a journey. It's an endless journey. And each part of it will have sometimes pain or unpleasant memories, but there's always pleasure. There's always good times in that. And so we don't really, well, thank you so much for the love and support. The Drum Speaks. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're going to keep this thing going. Any topics you want to talk about, just let me know. I'm always here. We're going to do it. But like I said, I realize it's a journey. And all I can say, to not be lonely, because we're all going to get older as far as the chronological years are concerned, right? Understand how sweet each part is. Understand. Look at it as a meal. Say you're on 125th Street in Harlem and there's a restaurant that sells good chicken. Sugar Hill, whatever. I was born in Columbia Presbyterian Hospital on Broadway and 168th Street. They don't call it that no more. It's right across the street from the Audubon Ballroom where Malcolm X was assassinated. I was so many blocks, like 16 blocks away, little short blocks between Amsterdam, St. Nick, where Convent Avenue begins. And to think about that period was a sweet period, even young before we moved to Queens. Oh my God, the faces, the memories, it brings joy to my heart. It brings a little sadness because that is not there anymore for me, but those same buildings are there and a lot of them are renovated. And I remember everything about that area. I can close my eyes the old way, you know? And so that's for me. But each part of the journey is like you go to a restaurant, you have a good meal, you're hungry, you get that first bite. You're hungry, you're waiting for the meal. And all of a sudden, here comes somebody with a tray of food and they walk past, you're like, oh man, I thought it was mine. You reach up, you're like, oh man. So finally, like, I'm not going to diss myself that way. I'm going to act like I'm not looking for it. And so here they come and they bring you and say, okay, love, you so grateful. You have that first bite because you're hungry. Nothing beats the first bite. You swear that nothing beats the first bite. But then you get into the middle of the meal and it's like you on cruise control in a scenic route going somewhere nice. You just eating, a little sip, you eating, you're filling up. But guess what? You say to yourself, nothing beats that last bite. See that? Man, it's the last bite. And you're already full, but you're taking your time. You're not hungry no more. You're just eating. The worst thing is when that last bite drops. I hate that. So this is why you got to enjoy every part of life. Even the parts that don't feel comfortable. Even the parts that feel as though, because you're gonna think back and there's gonna be something good out of that time period that you overlook because you are comfortable at the time from something else that happened. It could be a job, it could be an apartment or a house and neighbors or something that you didn't dig too tough, that you didn't vibe with. You're always going to come out of that. So look for the things that are good in that, even if you can't hardly see it. And every part of my life, even parts that had great pain, there was some good that I can extract later on, or a lesson that I can get out of that. It's very important. It has helped me out tremendously. So as far as that's concerned, that's something I can pass on to you with the homesick thing. because you can go back to the actual physical location, depending on how long it has been. If it's still going on now, what you've always known, you're going to really be homesick, but you're going to come back sometime after so much time and realize it's changed, but the memory lingers on, right? And other people don't forget it. Even if you are not connect them anymore, they're out there still thinking about that common denominator of where you came up, whether it was a job or an area community where you lived. It's there. We are all wired together. And so even people you're not wired to, they're wired to somebody else or some other place in a similar fashion. And this is how you can relate to them. I can find a common denominator between me and most people. I said most. We have some people running around here now. Old Frankenstein people, I don't know. Their mind is somewhere else. I don't think we can find. Well, look, we might like vanilla ice cream. I'll find something on some level. I've joked, and people misunderstood the joke. I said, you know what? You go to Japan as a person who was born in America. You may be black, you may be white, you may be whatever. You go there and you find a white man or a white woman that you have more in common with there because you both are American and you're not from Japan. You might find out that the dude you're hanging with, you both like hamburgers, but back home in America, he was a Klansman. He'll cling to you now because you have something. I'm not saying, I'm like, oh, get out of here. If I find that out, we ain't hanging, right? Good rising, Sweet Berry. Glad to see you here. Let me see what the speak said. Okay, give it a second to make this pop up. There it is. I'm 70 years old. I'm 70 years young. Sorry for putting that there like that. I'm 70 years young now. Many of my friends from the old block in the South Bronx have passed away now. Yes, I miss them and feel very, very much alone. I know exactly how you feel. Yeah, I have a lot of memories, sweetheart. I feel a lot of memories. I'm seeing a female form in the avatar, so I'm saying sweetheart like that. If you're a dude, I'm sorry. I'll say brother, but I think you're a woman, right? That has been something that I've had to, like, my little superpower. I'm not saying it's a superpower, but I had this ability from young, an awareness. It doesn't protect me from the feeling of loneliness from what I'm connected to in that past. But while I'm there, I never thought this outright, but it's something I always felt. I remember, let's just pluck something out of the woodwork. I remember it was 1974, maybe 75. And there was a song that was out, Double Exposure. My love is free, my love is free, my love is free, my love is free, free, free. Old song. I play that song a lot. I go back lots of times and reinforce myself when I'm in unfamiliar places. And my niece's mother, she wasn't married to my brother. Long story, same brother that I always talk about. But she had sisters, and one of the sisters was getting married to someone. And this is what I do all the time. I'm just plucking this one out because I don't forget nothing. And I'm sitting there, and I was about 10 years old, and I was looking around, everybody having a go. It was in an apartment. It was packed. Black folks, you know, they about ready to get married and stuff. Well, this was a reception. I'm not sure. I think it was a reception. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm around here with all of these people now, and we're all having a good time. But one day, this is going to be the past. You know what I mean? I wasn't thinking gory, like, oh, they're all going to die, because we're all going to transition. But let's make a smoother transition by getting all the toxic or regrets. And we have regrets, but we can make adjustments and realize that this life and all that has happened in it, and I've known this for a long time, has all been a gift. Even when we mess up, even when we F up, or whatever up you want to call it, it's a gift. When I go into the town, which I'm still going. I'm addicted to this conversation and this exchange. I see people who have the hustles of begging because unfortunately, I'm embraced here, but I'm not really embraced until people get to know you. Because when you're an American, I'm thinking now, I can't even say my words right. When you're an American in Africa or in Ghana or in this part of Ghana, it may not be everywhere. You have a lot of money here, a lot of rich folks here. I went to a part, I didn't see nothing less than Benz and Mercedes. I saw some at $500,000, but I'm not materialistic. I'm saying I went to certain areas that were like where people travel and do their thing and they live. You turn the corner, maybe some like real impoverished looking, whatever. But I'm looked at a certain way. You see what I mean? I'm viewed a certain way. Automatically they'll say, oh, you're American, you got money. How am I going to hide the fact that I was born and raised in America? I'm not going to try to hide that. But I embrace the fact that, I'm an African through direct lineage. Mixed up like most of us too, right? So I came to realize that this place is really a gift. The world, our life, our journey. We have to conquer certain things. We have to overcome certain things. What you overcome maybe something different that I have to overcome. My brother, the same mother, we have different fathers. So on one side, I can say I have a brother, and the other side, I can say I'm the only child technically. So that side of me that's the only child technically, I had to deal with certain things because my father was born in 1916. My mother was born in 1930. So although my father was up and strong and because he had gray hair, oh, is that your grandfather? So I had to think, especially not having many brothers and sisters, I had to think different. So I had to go through stuff first. And I always loved being around big families, right? So I had to precondition my mind that I might be alone one day. Technically, as far as the family structure, the big family, lots of brothers and nieces and nephews, and I do have a big family. But, and that's another story too. I'll say it in 60 seconds. My drug-using brother took the big book, the address book that my mother had back in the day before we had smartphones, and hustled the family members and lost the book. So when she passed away shortly thereafter, I couldn't reach out to folks who were in California, Colorado, Texas, Ohio, a lot in Ohio, Virginia, a lot of places on my mother's side. I'm in New York City. And I was very young in comparison to them, and they have children and stuff. So there's a big, and their name wasn't Scurvin. I say Scurv online, but it's Scurvin with an I-N. In Jamaica, yeah. And all Scurvins are related in Jamaica somehow, some way. So I've been reaching out to them. So I already had to have a mindset of what many people take for granted to absorb as much as I can and put it in my heart, because I know later on I have to draw from that to have a connection. You see what I mean? So anybody can do that. Really absorb and really be appreciative for those memories. And the drum speaks, I feel you 1,000,000%, because now I walk or try to give love to someone in a way that would fill whatever gaps where they don't expect it. I'm not saying I'm gonna push up on some woman and just want to give her a hug out of nowhere, but you don't know her that way. As a man, you speak some good words to her, or to a brother who's trying to do something, to encourage them. That comes back because it feels good to help, especially when you see somebody in a certain situation that you may have overcome, or if you didn't overcome it, you know how to overcome it. And just your few words of wisdom, it helps them so much. You see what I mean? But let me look down these other points because I'm really having to go. If it starts pouring down, raining up in these mountains, I might say I'm not going. Let me see. Those several steps, yeah. See your face. Video chats light up social centers in the brain better than text. Give your time. Volunteering returns a sense of purpose and lowers inflammation. Invite. even once, a Sunday meal, a board game, a shared story, even or each act grows new ties. Because these are invisible connections that we have that we don't always know that we have. You know what you said there, like you just did. Oh, that's from the question. I always like to get the detail, and if there's anything more about that you want to know, if I know anything or have any kind of perspective, trust me, I'll share it. I have no problem sharing it. But it's those connections that really mean a lot that we have to actually do. How family can help. Call elders on a set schedule. Make it law, not luck. Pair young people with grandparents for skill swap visits. Ain't that something? Look at it this way. Skill swap. They don't have home economics in school anymore. Yes, our families should teach us these things, but sometimes our families are so busy that we need to understand how to cook, how to sew, how to keep a home. Home economics, we had that. I was already taught that. It was born for me because I was taught that from young. But you don't realize how many people don't understand proper etiquette. Not just good morning or excuse me or thank you, but etiquette at the dinner table, right? I was at a restaurant the other day. Sweet D, bless to you. Welcome in, welcome in. I was at a restaurant the other day, and I was so shocked to see how all the folks got up and just walked away. Like, you can do that? But me, it's like, whatever plate I have, I'm going to try to help out or whatever. You don't just walk away. And they left a mess. Now, you may not have rags to wipe the table down, understood. But you tip the waiter or the waitress, and they'll feel better about that. But try to help out to the point where with me, I've been to restaurants and the waitress will say, and they know me, no, don't worry about that. You always do that. You know what I mean? Or if I was less on cash and I say, listen, I'm giving you a tip, but I usually give you a little more, but old Scurv is a little tight right now. Oh, I understand. I know your heart. But even that exchange, it's just like, what's the name of this a show from years ago? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name and always glad you came. Was it Cheers? That was geared for white folks, but it's true. You want to go where everybody knows your name, or some of the people, and they're always glad that you came through, right? But the bottom line is, look at us now. Yeah, cheers. That's right, sweetie. Thank you, in Giant Game. I've got so much space in his head. He's jumping around. But you go to the bank, they don't know your name anymore. You go certain places. You go to a grocery store, they don't know your name anymore. Nobody's looking up. It's all about the broop, broop, broop. People are getting hired and fired so fast. There's a young lady who I met at the Palace Mall. I'll say where it is. And there wasn't no hocus pocus, no funny business. But we exchanged numbers and talked because she's so interested in coming to America. She wanted to hear, and I get a lot of that out here because most people in passing think I'm visiting, right? Let me see what the drum special said here. Yes, I am a woman. I love the skill swap idea. Elders can teach life skills, and in turn, youth can teach technology. Beautiful. Exactly. And we need that. That's a gradual thing. You're not driving with an automatic transmission, and the automatic transmission goes from second gear to fifth. It's a smooth transition. Everything, people call me an elder, people call me old. You know how that goes. Then you see somebody that may be in, you reveal that you're 70, they might be 78. Girl, you young. You know what I mean? Some people see me and they're 30 and they see me, you 62, you old. It's all perception. It's all perception. It's the same body we have, the minerals that were in it or in it were somewhere else. The water that's in our body, could you imagine where that water came from? It's not just out of a bottle, whatever. It evaporated, went up, came down, went up, came down, was probably inside some dinosaurs, probably inside some, you know what I mean? Urinated outside of some French bar 200 years ago. We don't know where the water came from, but it's here. But we can definitely learn and teach. The problem is the separation. That's a good topic to talk about. See, as we talk about these things, there's always something else to go in on, and you're going on that one, and you're finding this one, and it's never ending. You're swimming, and you're learning this wisdom, and you talk to people, and how are we going to get the wisdom unless we communicate? That's why with the breakdown of the Black family especially, we're losing the gains. The simple things that your grandmother or your aunt or even a child teaching the grandmother technology. I don't see grandparents grabbing a phone straight out the box, throw the instructions down, and start figuring it out. The young folks are more acclimated to that. When it comes time to make a simple meal in the kitchen, unless you really teach them, they're going to go for the box, microwave stuff, and not know how to whip up a meal that's so full of love. When you hand it to them, you eat this meal, you're like, whoa. Because the human spirit and the human energy was put inside of it. Ain't that something? Through food. But we're looking through the phone for something that meal that has your grandmothers or your aunts or your grandfathers cook too, and you sit down and relax and put the technology down and eat, and they're there with you. And they get off on the fact that, I hate to say get off because that sounds sexual, right? But you know what I mean. They get off on the fact that, wow, when Mrs. Scurv makes me a meal, sometimes I say, you know, you're like a little peeping Tom. If she's not actually eating with me or she's doing something else, but she takes a moment and she's kind of watching. Why are you looking at me? I'm just, you're enjoying the meal. It makes me happy. It makes the person who made the meal happy. So we're all happy. Right? At the song 15, 20 years ago, happy, yeah. I made this for you and put my foot in it. Meaning, for the people who, mostly white folks may not know what that means, I put my essence, I put my soul. Like when I draw a picture and I have my pen, and this is the pen I draw with. I always keep one of these with me. I'm not using this when I go downtown, but I'm going to keep it here because that's like Thor and his hammer. Right? I'm doing my detail, and you see the detail, and you look at it, and you have to look at it. Because I put so much detail and life force in it. Life force is a currency to maintain us to be here longer and thrive and be vibrant. This is a beautiful woman here. She's a little older than me, maybe. She has a gray hair. She's not 20 years old, but look at her. Her life force from the appearance of this picture, maybe she posed it this way, and I guess they did, but let's take it for what it is. Her life force in this picture is low. You ever see older folks who they're beaming bright? And you see them, you see if they have gray hair, you see if they're a little older, but they're animated, they got something going on. And when they're older and got that, the little kids look, he's different. As opposed to somebody 40 years old dragging because they don't understand the system and how to navigate the system, and they're dragging and they beat down. My mama don't have no energy like that man. That man's 75 years old, and my mama always complaining and huffing and puffing when she come in, and my daddy always beat up and this is what I'm trying to say. Life force. There's a correlation, as my opinion is concerned, with loneliness and life force. I never really saw somebody who's extremely lonely and say, oh, I'm lonely. They're not, I'm lonely. You see what I mean? How you doing? I'm lonely. I've been lonely for a long time. It's not like that. Life force. And if you share your life force sincerely, not in an artificial way, well, I'm lonely, so let me just look at these YouTube videos, which you can learn stuff. You can learn a lot at YouTube University, but a lot of the interactions between humans, people, are dead. Because you have a lot of lonely people sometimes who are just sitting there and they're just looking at each other. They don't talk. They'll connect on Facebook. I'm not really an advocate of this way of living, even though I utilize technology, right? And I know all about it. But I'm the old school do if they say, and give us some time to get the physical phone numbers, because half the phone numbers in your phone you don't even memorize. That's right, Sweet D. Cooking with love is a real thing. That's right. It's a real thing. That'll make a man want to marry a woman, even if you forget anything else. The Drum Speak says, when people call me old, I remind them that we only have two choices in life: grow old or die young. Woo! That's a t-shirt right there. Wow. Grow old or die young. Just about all the people who never made it to get to certain chronological ages. And people who make it to certain chronological ages that have not learned the lessons. That's even sadder. That you've been here in this world for so long, and it's like you went to school to go hang out in the lunchroom or go to the gym, and you didn't get the lessons. Now, there's some people who get those lessons from really young, and they carry themselves different. They still might be young. Might be some young dude, wise as anything else, to see a shapely chick in jeans. Oh, look at her. We human. Let's embrace that. And let's flow with who we are. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to cuss a bad word one time. We're going to whatever. You know, we all get horny. Whatever. We all get hungry. We all got to go to the bathroom. What the heck? Let's not forget that we're human. We just don't have an eraser on the end of our fingers like a pencil does. We make mistakes or misjudgments, and that's how we learn. And when we learn with those things, we pass those things on. We pass those things on. King Ja, welcome on in. Greetings to all tuning in to the most interestingly intelligent show on the internet. Thank you, but I'm not going to say that. I know, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't claim to be, you get a lot of people, oh, yes, I am the guru and I am the this. No, I'm just a dude. We're on the bus stop right now talking. We're in the supermarket checkout line right now talking. We're in the doctor's office right now talking. Or we happen to be walking along the same path in the park in the morning. We see each other. Say, hey, I see you here. My name is so-and-so. And we start talking. Then when we don't see each other for a while, you start checking for them. What house they live over there? Well, do you know if they're all right? Yeah, they're all right, man. They just kind of fell and hurt their ankle. Well, let me go over there and check on them. And these times we make these connections, right? So my thing is to transmit real life force over the internet. Instead of me sitting here, grab the mic, and yes, I am Lancescurv, and I am the master guru, and I will teach you to whatever. Because listen, I got questions too about life. Oh, Diane, how are you? Yes, peace and much love to you. Peace and much love to you always, and everyone who's here. But I got questions too. I mean, I got some deep questions, deeper than when I was 10 years old. I mean, the questions you ask in school should kind of be in tandem with the wisdom you have. I'm not going to ask certain things because already I've learned certain things. I'm past certain things. This is why when we see people disappoint us in their actions, which may be low vibrational, it's because we thought they were higher vibrational. Whatever you think of a person, they still can dip a little bit. I don't care how nice the car is, the tires can sometimes need air or it can need a tune-up. So this is a journey that we got to deal with what we see, how people see us, how we see ourselves. We got all these things to wrestle with and we don't even realize it. And we thought learning how to walk was a big thing. That's something that's easy. Remember, there was a time that you couldn't even take care of yourself, that you couldn't even walk. And that was a big thing. Boom. Then one day you get it, and now you're terrorizing the whole house, the whole apartment, and now you learn how to walk up steps. How long ago was that? Look how far you've come. And we got to give ourselves more credit in life. And it's okay to reminisce. It's okay to extract life force. Share your old stories. I'm not saying they're old. Let people know what was there before. Because you know what? The less we give of that, and I'm going to run in a second, is the more, how can I put it? That we support the false reality that's pushed on social media and AI. You see what I mean? Do kids grab crayons anymore on construction paper and let their imagination flow? Or do we hand them the phone, tablet, the computer, and all of that is snatched before they had a chance to even play with their imagination? It's given to them by something else that I believe is connected demonically in some force that we don't know. I've talked about that before. And so now we're just looking at a screen. We're not engaging with each other. So you're going to have a lot of children out here. And I don't want to enforce anything negative, but there are a lot of young people taking their lives because they've jumped the steps of what they should experience and play with and even wrestle with to earn a wisdom that comes from the struggle to learn this thing. They get everything now. They 12 years old, 11 years old. You know, kids, I pushed the door to my room. He had his girlfriend in there. Oh, I want to tell you what they was doing. And even they don't know, like back in the day. I mean, I was taught the birds and the bees, but before I was taught the birds and the bees, which I wasn't even interested in that, the hormones of my body wasn't kicking. But my idea was that when a woman got pregnant, it's because her and the husband hugged and the baby came out the navel. That's what I really thought. I didn't care. We here. But these kids now, they know everything. 12 years old, they can tell you some things. They're not ready for it. It's improper. But they've jumped through certain phases that they're supposed to go through. And that's another contributing factor to the loneliness that I feel, because there's nothing new. There's nothing left to explore. What else can you do? You bored with this? You bored with that? I know in the 70s, what's his name? Major Harris. Love Won't Let Me Wait. Oh, the time is right. Oh, now, I was too young when that came out. Was 74? I was 10 years old, 75, 11 years old. But I felt the romantic feelings toward girls my age and even some women a little older than my age. I didn't know what the time is right for. It could have been time is right. Get the food out the oven. I don't know. But it was a warmth when I saw a woman hold me tight. You know, love won't let me wait. I thought love was just hugging and kissing. And that's a part of it. But look at the word love now. Look at how we're misled, and we end up at any age lonely because we went up the wrong road. Love is not just sex. Love is deeper than that. Don't even say it's love, but some people don't know that. Young guys who have no experience, and you get a wiser woman, not wise in a good way, but she's using her wisdom in a bad way. And this young guy, I make these things up to paint the picture. I'm not saying this is the way. It could be a woman, it could be a man, whatever. This wise chick, she might be 3 or 4 or 5 years older than this young guy. He might be 21 and always in school and pretty much a nerd, and she 26 and lived kind of a rough life and wise to the street. Well, guess what? He has a father that's alive, but he's in the 5th stage of some type of cancer, 4th stage, whatever, and she knows that. And she knows he's going to get everything that that father has. They live in the affluent side of town. The father invested well. They got rental properties. They got all this insurance money and inheritance and everything you could think of. Damn near brand new cars sitting up in the garage. So when she gets to this guy who doesn't know the romantic side, the real romantic side, and how things should be done in steps, and she starts hitting him off and giving him some good head, I'm sorry, I got to say it that way. What's he going to say? He don't have no experience. Oh, baby, I love you. I love you. That ain't love. It can be part of righteous love when you express yourselves in a proper, balanced relationship, But he don't know nothing about that. He was cracking books all his life, been isolated, hanging out with other nerdy guys, a big virgin. So what's he gonna say? So we got to be careful how we use this word. We got to be careful. And that goes with other things, not just love, but friendship and this and this and that. What does that mean to you? Let's define that before we get mixed up here. That's like giving directions. You better give precise directions to get from point A to point B. Don't just say, oh, turn down by that fence over there. I might be looking too down and past where I'm supposed to go and end up in a bad place, thinking I'm going to get something, but it was bait and switch, and now I'm sitting here lonely. Lonely is just not relegated to older ages. I put this out there like that. It's probably more so than anything else, but these days, I don't know. And when you are older, understand that your memories were probably more authentic to you than many of the younger folks here now who you see them, and they don't have no connection to each other. They're not rooted. I speak to friends of mine from my community and even beyond, not just, I know guys in Brooklyn, Jersey, whatever, and we talk about them old days and we speak about how we're blessed to have that. And even back then, I didn't understand what the older folks felt. They didn't have no VCR back then. VCRs were hot at one time. VCR, shoot, you got your phone, you got everything now. Old cars used to drive around and they love them so much. Man, they ain't like this car that I got. And they look at it like, that's a nice car, but their heart is with the old stuff because they had real vibrations with each other. Come on, y'all. Jack Griffin, I'm running my mouth. I didn't see. There's another one. Man, proof positive, Jack Griffin. We go back to the 70s. He knows I'm speaking the truth, right? That's the way it is. And even though the gadgetry that they had, if you can call it gadgetry, even the folks that had to turn the channel with the wrench, and they had the coat hangers for the antenna, was a black and white TV, and they put that cheap green thing up to make it color. Those people had more connection and more love and more wholesome times. So thank God for the people that I have now, like Jack Griffin, really and truly. He will tell you, right? And we didn't technically grow up in the same close neighborhood. He was a little bit over. But the times we all spent, we can reflect on it. We all have our lives, but at the root. And so many of us are disconnected at the root. So many of us have each other as family members, but on a ideology level, I'm a Muslim and I'm a Christian, so I can't. You came from the same womb. Find a common denominator, whether it's your family or not. You can do it. You can do it, and you know that you can. See, it's time for me to go. I'm starting to sing songs from back in the past, but that brings a glow to my heart. And I want to make new memories. If you live near me or we communicate more, whatever have you, I'm going to keep you laughing. I'm going to keep you feeling a certain way. Because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever time it is, you're going to think about that. My thing before I go is how sad it will be. Hopefully not. But all of the children and younger folks that are just, even older folks, we know we got to use these things. It's pleasurable to get to a song when you want, or watching a boxing match. I like bodybuilding and boxing and stuff. We share things with each other. Cool. But we have a foundation, right? The drum special. You got to understand that what you have in your memory that you actually experience, a lot of the young children these days are not going to feel that. Some will. If they have a father or grandfather like Brother Jack Griffin, he's going to make sure of that. But a lot of us are living in ways where we don't understand what is happening to our children now. So they're just in the phone. Okay. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. What in the hell are they going to say, for example, they're born into this thing anyway, but they're 12, 13, 14 years. And when they get to 40, what memories are they going to talk about with people their age or people they know that when they were 12 and 13 or 14 years old, we had a good time texting each other. We had a good time watching whatever. You're not engaging. It doesn't mean you always have to play ball, but to exert yourself, to run for the time that you do it. You may not do it as much now, but go out and do some double dutch. You tell these girls now to do some double dutch. To shoot, they a lot of them trying to catch a man to get money out of him. Come on now. It's a whole different thing. We don't realize that. There's a gap between this present day that we see how wicked things have become and how wholesome they were back then as far as our upbringing, which undergirds us to not be lonely because we know how to have a conversation. You see, if I was a guy living in New York, whether I'm married or single, whatever, and I know there's the drum speaks. I said drum special earlier, right? The drum speaks. And I knew you're there. So come on, we're going to meet up at the deli, the diner, every Thursday or whatever. I'm going to check on you. You check on me. Maybe we can do a walk up Broadway, all the way up from Washington Heights, coming down into Midtown Manhattan or down around 57th Street or something. It's a long walk, right? I'm just saying, something to look forward to. And we talk, oh, let me stop and look at this store. Oh, let me go. I want to buy that, whatever. You may not be around. And I'll say, you know what? I just walked past that place and it went down from $149 it's $70 now. You still want that thing? Yeah, but I don't have it now. I'm not going to say nothing. If I got it, I'm going to buy it and give it to you. You see what I mean? That's how, oh, thank you so much. You don't have to give me that back, but you may know the recipe to something I like to eat. This is how, wherever you can get in, you can fit in. And if you have that mentality, you can adapt anywhere. Not that you can't, because I know how the world can be. I know how New York City is right now. You know, the drum speaks. I know how it is. You know, right. Sweet D, like she said, I still love to skate. Now, me, I've been getting on my unicycle for the longest time. I have it right upstairs. So now I need to do that because I was saying, yeah, for my 62nd birthday, I'm going to ride my unicycle and show that I'm 62 years old and I'm riding this one-wheel bike in Ghana. How weird is that? Right? They'll go crazy if they see me doing that. But whatever it takes that keeps you young, that keeps you enthused. Because like I said, no, not too many people. I got to end on this. Oh, Diane, you like that too? Double what? Giant Gates said, you mean 2 men at a time? Right? It can mean a lot of things to different people. You know what I mean? But you never see anybody who's like, oh, I'm lonely. And they're enthusiastic about the loneliness. They may have a look on their face like this, which doesn't always mean loneliness. They could have lost a loved one. They're concerned about the health of somebody else. You know, they might be financially strapped and trying to figure out how they're going to pay a bill or whatever. But, you know, you never see anybody like enthusiastically lonely. Like that doesn't even mix. You're enthusiastic about being lonely. No, it's life force. Share your life force and keep the loved ones in your life from being lonely. And I think there's another word or note that I wanted to say. Yeah, we spoke about the skills swap. We spoke about, you know, calling elders to set schedule. And that goes for anybody because they'll be younger and lonely and detached. You know, build no one eats alone zones at family events. Right. At family events, there's somebody over there to the side eating by themselves. That's a bad sign. Use church, clubs, and barbershops as connection hubs. Yeah, those are free. Church, well, I don't know about church being so free now. You know, offering plates, they're throwing it around like a frisbee, right? But use these places, right? Loneliness is not a flaw in character. It is a signal, like hunger, that we need people. When we answer that signal, the heart calms, the brain brightens, and life stretches out. Let us keep connection today so we can dance and laugh and lead each other tomorrow. And I talk about a lot of things that I get angry about. But as I move into these different, I'm not even going to say ages, just perspectives. You know, you climb a tree, you can see further. You know, I want to address those things. Most of us, I'm not going to say most of us, but most content creators are just looking for clicks, right? Who's going to look at this banner and say, oh, I can't wait to watch this? So it's not like, I can come up with all kind of content. There are a lot of people that want to, oh, put me on the video. I can dance and shake my behind, you know, and they do have some very eye-catching derrieres out in Africa. This is where the motherland is what's here. No, I'm not going to prostitute visuals for clicks and all that. I want to do something that I know somebody will appreciate, that'll stand the test of time, and to share the life force that's out there. You know what I mean? Yes, let me see here. Diane loves to do the double dutch too. These young girls don't know about double dutch, but they know about past the Dutch. Yes, they do. They do. There's a whole lot of things they know, and trust me, in the more cosmopolitan areas of this part of Ghana, Accra, things are off the chain too. I'm going to sacrifice one of these days soon. I got some things I'm doing next 2 months, but after about that, I'm going to go down. I promise myself to go down there all night long to Osu, right? Little New York City. Everything that you can think of is down there. The clubs, the prostitutes, the restaurants, the hotels. It's crazy, but it's like different than New York. There's no danger. I'm talking about New York from back in the late 70s, early 80s. And just to walk there, you're like, man, it's crazy. And things are spreading. But let's hold on to what we know. Let's hold on to our, I'm not going to say belief system. It's what you know in your heart. When you know something, you might not be able to say or be able to prove it on paper. And this is the way it is. But your gut will never lie. As long as you're in tune to something higher, your gut will never lie. There are times I've walked out this door, walked outside of my wall, and something says, turn around, back inside. I'm not just saying this for effect. This is what kept me alive in many situations. And in many situations when I was younger, a little more reckless, again, not with crime and not with different things or whatever. You all know my stories. I'll be telling them sometime soon. But just share the things that we know that it can help somebody. That's the best way. That's the best legacy. Because those principles will always go. Fads are always last. Fads will come and go, but principles will never die. And that's how we have to get down. Anyway, I've been on for almost 2 hours, 1 hour and 52 minutes. I'll play a little music, whatever. And we're going to get going. I'm going to take my little camera just in case. Have it in my pocket like, aha! But the big one, I'm still learning it, And last night I almost dropped it. I kicked the tripod by mistake and the camera was going, I was like, like I was diving for football. I was like, this camera costs too much money for me to lose that thing. But anyway, much love to you all. Lancescurv out. Thank you for being with me here at this time. And it's always a pleasure. It's always a joy. Thank you so much. Lancescurv out. Peace. Much love.
Lancescurv. Actually, today I got to meet my friend Lance. Yes, I got to meet my friend Lance. This is my first time meeting him in person, and he's a very kind man, seriously. I do talk with him on phone, on WhatsApp, but I've never got to meet him. But today, he's just extraordinary. He's very, anything you want to know about life, anything you want to know about just human, anything you want to know about life, please. YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media channels, you got to find him there. He's very inspiring. He's very positive. If you want anything positive about life, please subscribe to Lancescurv. And then every day you got to see different videos, different talks, different topics about life. See you.